Welcome, welcome. My name is Felipe, and I'm here with the Charter for Compassion to introduce you to our global read for kids and company. This is with the book My Act of Heart, which was ideated and curated by Anjali and Deepika, who are incredible people that you will be meeting on this webinar in a little bit. But I have the pleasure to introduce you to Shane, who is part of the staff family at the Charter for Compassion. Shane is in Ireland, and I'm currently in San Francisco in the US. And we're super happy to be able to have this programming for not only kids and company, but everyone in general, and talk about acts of compassion and acts of heart. So we are also going live on Facebook as we speak. So let me just finish setting this up. And once we are done with this, then we will begin the webinar. Just give us a second. Okay. All right, and we are live on Facebook as well. So for people that are watching us on our social media platforms, my name is Felipe. I'm with the Charter for Compassion. We're here with Shane O'Connor, who is part of the staff family as well. And we are here to enjoy our global read for kids and company with the book, My Act of Heart. Shane, please, the floor is yours, and you introduce all your people.
Thank you so much, Felipe, and welcome to everybody. We'd say Fáilte Róg 1,000 welcomes in Ireland. So Felipe, you got that about 50% right. I'm from Ireland, but I'm actually based in Spain. So I'm melting here right now, an Irish person melting in 37 degrees of heat. And that's about 105 Fahrenheit, I think. But even what makes me more excited is the fact that I know we have people from all over the globe, people of all ages in as panelists for this next hour or so. But we also have people joining us as participants, and I hope that's what we will be for the next hour. So we're going to be introducing a book, introducing the characters of the book, and thankfully we're going to be introducing young people from about 6 different regions of the world, which it always excites me when I can connect with people, whether it's in person or using technology. Already we've heard from Felipe, a person from Chile in the United States right now. We've somebody on the screen or behind the screen from the Netherlands who's made all of this happen. Lynn is here as well. We've young people from 3 different states and 3 different regions of India. So from Bangalore, from Hyderabad, and from New Delhi. I'm an Irish person living in Spain, and we will also be joined by a young person from Jordan, from Amman as well. And you never know, we might also get some other people joining us. I know there's some people in transit at the moment that want to be here with us. But why are we here and what are we going to be doing? We're going to be exploring through the lens of our 2 authors, so the people who put the book together. So it's Anjali Sharma and Deepika Ahuja. I hope I haven't pronounced those names incorrectly, and you can correct me if I have. Who 2 inspirational individuals who came together, and I only found out this morning, believe it or not, that they met at a conference, and it was when the world was going into a strange flux at the time, and the ideas came forward at a conference, but little did they know some years later they would have produced a book which is celebrating real acts of compassion by young people themselves across the globe, and we're very lucky to have some of those young people with us. So we'll be introducing Anjali very shortly to introduce the book itself, My Act of Heart, and then we're going to be introducing Ananya, Ayush, Carol, and Anisha. And I'm really excited about having a conversation with everybody here as well. And hopefully we'll have some interaction from our audience, from our participants, wherever you might be joining us this evening, this morning, this afternoon, regardless of what part of the world you're in, what culture, what heritage, what language, what religion, what identity you connect with. It'll be great to just get the conversation going. And so if it's okay, Anjali, I'm going to pick on you first, if I can, in a compassionate way, as compassionate as I can. So we're going to bring Anjali in now. And I feel like I've got to know you a little bit, Anjali, over the last couple of years. It might seem like a couple of years, it might even be less, but it's been really nice to get to know you. And I first got to know you, but before I realized that you were an author of this book as well. And the little snippets of the pieces of this beautiful book, My Act of Heart, that I've had a chance to read and feel the inspiration from, I really appreciate it. And even this morning, reading some of the articles from our young people that we have here, it tickles the heart and the mind and the body in a really kind way. And the fact that they're real acts of compassion from all over the world, it makes it even more real. So I'd love for you, if it's possible, just to introduce where this idea came from. You know, the uplifting. We call it. It's not my phrase, but I'm stealing this from a colleague of ours within the Charter for Compassion, who's from your part of the world, from India as well. But he talks about bringing like-hearted people together. And what I get a sense from this book is that you've managed, yourself and Deepika, to bring like-hearted people together. So not like-minded, but like-hearted. And I think the adage this morning or this evening or this afternoon about like-hearted, it is in order to be light-hearted, so brighter in terms of our heart and our outlook, but also lighter, not heavy-hearted. I think we do need to be connected with like-hearted people, and I get a sense of that. So what was an inspiration, yourself and Deepika, originally to put this together, Anjali? And you're very welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Sean, for that question, and thank you to everybody, Lynn, Felipe, Sean, for getting all of us together. Really excited as to what conversations will happen in the next 1 hour with our stars also present, some of them present here. So going back, so Deepika and I had met once in a conference, as we shared with you, and we really, resonated on some of the things. And one was bringing up a book, and it was initially her idea that she wanted to kind of work on a project like this. And then we discussed that, yes, this is really something that strikes a chord with both of us, because we see, that in today's world, the way the perception-based outlook, and we're so busy in our deadlines and pursuits, that we are losing touch with something which is so beautiful, which is so innate to us, and can actually lead to a lot of happiness around, which is compassion. And we used to see kids around us whom we interacted as doing some very beautiful acts. And we thought that we should tap these children and ask them for sharing their real acts of compassion. And it so happened that we just shared the idea on social media. We shared it with a couple of friends who are educators, parents, and we got an overwhelming response from them. Some of the children wrote to us. Parents shared the small, big acts of compassion that they were inspired, that they saw in their children. And it just began from there, from that thought of doing something to take compassion, to kind of trigger conversations around compassion. And the response was really overwhelming. And we thought that what could be a better way than stories? So let's just put them in stories, these small, big acts of compassion, and just weave them in a kind of a book, so that it can be carried forward to not just these children who've performed the acts, but to children across the globe. And thanks to Charter for Compassion, Marilyn, our request seeking these real acts of compassion was just spread like, I would say, a forest fire. And it caught the attention of so many other people who were working or who were associated with Charter in different countries. Pakistan, then Jordan, and then we had Atlanta, then Australia, Germany, and children or their parents wrote to us from different parts of the world, and of course, different cities from India. And that's how it started.
Brilliant. And thank you for that insight. And if you're just joining us as well, you're extremely welcome. Whether you're parents, carers, people from different parts of the world, young people yourselves, hopefully we'll get a chance to get a flavor of some of these articles or stories. Article sounds very clinical. These are really stories, and they're real people stories of compassion. That you mentioned that wildfire. If only there was a compassionate wildfire out there that could share the light and the kindness and the empathy and all of the things that you have within this publication. It's a beautiful thing, and we're going to get a chance to hear from some of the young people reading about their own stories, or even stories within the book that inspired them. But can I ask you also, Anjali, the title, when you say it, My Act of Heart, it's probably a title that I've known for a good year now, and yet I'm always taken back by the title. Where did it come from? What were the other options that you were talking about, and why did you come to the conclusion that My Act of Heart is what you're going to call it?
Yeah, actually, and I would say that is a very good question, Sean, because we spent really good amount of time thinking about what should be the title of the book. And there were a lot, and we were working with a team of illustrators. So I must tell our viewers who joined us that the book has illustrations both from children and few from the expert illustrator. We had illustrators on board. And so we shared these stories with children. We asked them to read, and we asked them that what is one emotion which strikes the most when you read this story, and they drew things, and we were just spellbound. And in some of the cases, we sought the expert team. So when we were thinking about the title, it was four of us, Deepika, I, and Ranjan and Shai, the two people who helped us in the illustrations. And we spent literally many days kind of nailing out the final one, which kind of was loved by everybody. And we really wanted it to feel like it creates an instant connection with heart. So we even thought, there are books on empathy. So, something like I feel so, or I, something which has I in it, so that it feels more personal. But heart, and then we said that, okay, heart and what you do with your hands, that's action. So we need to combine these two things together. And I don't know, after multiple iterations, we came to My Act of Heart. Like it is personal with my, and it is an action, and it is something which is coming from heart. So bringing all of that together.
Beautiful. And if only we could all get that inspiration to act more from the heart and not so much always from the head. It's happening. It is happening, and there is momentum out there as well. But I think you're connecting in with that. So I really, it resonates with me. And I'd love to hear from the young people as well of what this title means to them. They're part of this publication in a deep way. My last question for you, Anjali, before we jump into hear some stories now, is, when you start a project like this, you come together, you met Deepika, you're at a conference, some ideas start flowing, and you think, okay, we could do this, we could potentially do this. And even though it's a really strange time and most things are online, let's put it out there and see what comes back.
Yes.
And it seems like there was quite a large positive, beneficial response. But was there anything that came up for you that was unexpected, that you just, sometimes we can call it a curveball, but things that when you started the project, you didn't have this in mind, but it came back to you, whether it was, a beneficial thing or even a really challenging thing, an unexpected part of this process or journey for you that you're comfortable to share, if that's okay.
Okay, so I think while we had, while we had always thought that the stories would be received very well, I would say the reflections which Sean tumble out as I reach students in schools and we read it together, and then they come out with the personal stories, their experiences, sharing that how deeply these stories kind of have moved them. That's, I wouldn't say totally unexpected, but it's very heartwarming. And sometimes, in a I would say a group of 100 children, 10 children, 20 children will just come and stand in a queue and say, I want to share. I also felt something. That, the response is like, I wouldn't say unexpected, but yes, definitely many-fold than we had thought the book would go. So yes, that's something I would like to, it's very dear to me, the way the book is touching hearts.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And so let's introduce our young people and hear some of these stories as well. And I'm gonna, in the kindest possible way, I'm gonna out you a little bit, Anjali, as well, because I imagine from talking to yourself and Deepika, another very strong motivation is being a parent and seeing young people coming up from the seed to the fruition and seeing the light and seeing all that is our children, whether they're our biological children are the children that we care for in the world. But if you don't mind, Anisha, I'm going to introduce you first. I believe you're in New Delhi, and I believe you've got a very strong connection to this book as well. And I know that Deepika's children have also shared some videos of their own stories. But Anisha, if you wouldn't mind just maybe introducing yourself and what it was like to be part of this project. And if you could share the story that you feel most comfortable to share with our audience, with our global audience for this global read for Kids and Co, but it's for everybody really. And thank you, first of all, Anisha, for being with us. I know it's not early in the day for you. So yeah, how did you, well, it might be a little bit different, Anisha, your story to Ananya and to Ayush and to Carol, because you heard about this maybe in a different way, but what was it like for you to be part of the project, if you don't mind me asking you that?
So, first of all, I would like to introduce myself to everyone watching. So, hi, my name is Anisha Sharma. I'm in grade 9th and I'm logging in from New Delhi. And first of all, I would like to say thanks to Team My Act of Heart and to Team Charter of Compassion for inviting me here and letting me be part of this event. Right,
Great to have you.
To answer your question, from the very start, I was very excited to work with My Act of Heart and get my story published, because regarding my story, it's about self-compassion, and it's something I feel very strongly about, especially for students. Today we are caught up in a world of stress, anxiety, and expectations, and I think it's important to take a break and let yourself know that be easy on yourself sometimes.
Beautiful. And I'm really happy that we started with this self-compassion as well, because I think, like you said, Anisha, that often we forget about that as a community, as a society, and even as a globe. If we start with the inner and then we work towards the other, and then the greater systems that we belong to, I think our world would be in a very different place right now. So it's so heartwarming to hear you say that as well. But would you mind sharing some of your story, or would you be okay to share some of the story that you have within the publication?
Yeah. So I would just, my story is named The Math Score. This is the book for everyone watching. My story is named The Math Score, and I would love to read an excerpt from it, if that's, yeah. Okay. As I boarded the school bus, I kept making plans and strategies as to what I would tell mom, and in all of this coaxing myself. Why had maths become my pain point? Why couldn't I score well? Will I ever score better? Miss Chanda seemed to have lost all hopes in me. And to add fuel to the fire, Shubhra Didi, 2 years senior to me, also boasted about her score. And math scores that too in the bus. And we weren't even in the same class. Everyone wanted to know mine, but I kept quiet. Mom wasn't at home when I reached back. I told Didi and Dadi that I didn't want to eat lunch. I just want to flop myself on the bed and to not get up. No TV also, something which I loved doing as the first thing after returning back from school, every day for at least an hour. I just felt like being alone with no distractions. I didn't want to change too. I threw my bag in one corner, shoes in the other, and there went the bottle, and just took to my bed. I was sulking. What was happening to me? Whatever it was, it didn't feel right.
Beautiful. And thank you so much for bringing the animation in here as well. There's an energy to your story that I feel, although you're in New Delhi and I'm in Madrid and people are all over the world, we can connect with this story, because everybody's individual story, I think, has resonance and an energy that we can connect with. So thank you so much for jumping in first as well. And we'd love to come back to you at some point. Maybe there's going to be a question or two that we can ask to all of the young people, but to get a different flavor of other stories in the book, maybe we can move to Carol, if that's okay. So from New Delhi all the way to Amman in Jordan. Ahlan wa sahlan, Carol. It's great to have you here. I'm not sure exactly what time it is in Amman, but maybe you can introduce yourself, Carol. And I know you've just jumped in here, so we're putting you on the spot, but and also maybe talk about how you got involved in this beautiful project, beautiful book, and if possible, if you wouldn't mind sharing the story that connects to you. And for me, there's a question coming out of your story when I got a chance to read your story, that there was something about your passion for both animals and also your passion for art. And I think you asked a beautiful question, Carol. I felt it was a beautiful question at the end of your story is, what are your passions out there? Whoever is connecting, wherever you might be in the world, what are your passions and how can you bring them together in an action that can be compassionate? So bringing your passion into compassion, and yeah, the animal rights and the desire to make a difference in that field, but also art as a way of inspiring people. So I'm putting you on the spot completely, and I'm not sure if you're able to show your video as well, but we'd love to hear your voice at least, Carol, if we can hear you. You're unmuted and the floor is all yours. So if you
Hello.
wouldn't mind introducing yourself. Yes, we can.
Yes,
Shukran Akdir.
yeah, Afwan. I'm not sure exactly how I can turn on my video. I'm not getting the option to, but it's okay. I can just speak if that's fine.
That's perfect. Yeah, we can hear your voice loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to introduce myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Carol Haddad, and I'm currently 19 years old from Jordan. During the time of my project, I was 15, and it was kind of a requirement from the school that by the end of 10th grade, each student should come up with a project to serve their local community. So I didn't want to see it more of a school thing. So I really wanted to combine something I love, which is art. I've been in love with art since I was a child, and I knew I wanted to do something based on that. I'm also very much in love with animals. I love animals very much. I currently have over 8 pets that I foster from time. Yeah. So I was very, very thankful and honored to be featured in this book, as this project is very close to my heart, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to share this experience with you guys, to inspire people to do work and to do projects locally, to like initiatives to help their community. So I'd like to talk about my project and what I did and how I was inspired. Yeah, so as I said, I love to do art and I love animals, so I wanted to work with both of them. And during the summer of 2019, a new reserve in Jordan was opened where they rescued animals from regional areas. And as you know, Jordan is in a very tough spot at the moment in terms of the countries around it. So something that no one talks about are the animals that are put in danger in these countries. So Al-Ma'wa for Nature and Wildlife is a reserve in Jordan that rescues these animals and gives them a safe home and whatever, and things like that. And they're in collaboration with the Princess Alia Foundation. So I wanted to host an art exhibition where I contacted local artists around Jordan, and I told them my idea that I wanted to host an art exhibition where the paintings would be sold, and then all the money would go for donation to the reserve. And the artists loved the idea, and I'm very thankful they were able to donate their pieces to me. And I also worked on some pieces of my own. And I contacted Her Royal Highness Princess Alia and told her about my idea. And I'm so honored that she was able to come to the gallery, and it was under her patronage. And by the end of the exhibition, I was able to sell all the pieces, and I raised around 1,500 Jordanian dinars for the reserve. And then the site manager told me that all the money was used to provide food and to upgrade the animals' enclosure to accommodate them based on their habitats. And yeah, it's a project very close to my heart, and I'm so happy that I was given the opportunity to do something like that and to work with those people. It was honestly life-changing.
Wow, shukran again, Carol. It's I've got the hairs standing on my arm right now hearing about it, because it's real, and as the title of the book and also the celebration of compassion around the world. This sounds like a celebration that you were not only able to combine your passions and your heartfelt compassion, but you're able to bring other people on board and your inner circle first, it seems. So your father and your brother being involved. And
yes,
then why not bring the princess, and why not reach out to further people out there to engage them and get them on? How was it to bring other people around you into the project as well?
It was honestly great to be in contact with these artists around Jordan and give them a voice as well, to have them participate in this amazing project, and for them to be able to play a role in such an important thing and raising awareness. I think it's very important for people to start small, at least just do anything to try to help their community. And then the more you get in contact with people, the more you have life experiences, you can reach out and do more and do bigger.
and the empathy as well connected with this as well. Like
course.
it's standing out quite strong to me. You mentioned where you're from or where you're based right now, Carol, and the countries around you. And I think it would be amiss to mention the fact that there is so much compassion and empathy for the people in the Middle East. And it's not just the last year or so. We're talking about 75 years of, you know, I won't call it conflict necessarily because we imagine that's between two sides, but injustice and justice related issues. So our heart goes to you as well. And in a very strong way, I was 19 years old, your age, when I first went to Jordan. And it was just a connection of the heart of the people that inspired me to continue or to try and continue working in the area of peace and compassionate actions, not just the themes and the theory, but the actions behind them. And so, yeah, you're walking the talk of compassion, and so I hope you continue that as well for well into the future as well. So our hearts goes to you. But thank you so much for sharing.
Thank
and
you
we'll
so
bring
much.
you back in as well. So,
Okay.
shukran.
Yeah, I would like to, Sean, just add. So we've tried a couple of times that we could reach out to Carol in such a platform where we have conversations. It's the first time we've had her. So thank you so much, Carol, while you are here. So grateful from my side and Deepika's side that you are a part of this beautiful project. It's such a beautiful coincidence, Sean, that Yasmin, she's a part of Charter family, and like Marilyn had sent out an email to everybody across the globe, and she picked it up and she connected us to Carol. Now I reflect back and I feel it's so gratifying to think how, the different dots connect. And here we are talking about the project who's now touching so many hearts. So thank you, Carol.
Thank you so much.
I didn't know about that connection. And of course, art being another passion as well for Yasmin. And so, yeah, I mean, we hear in the world around us, we hear a lot of negative stereotypes, not only about young people, but about regions of the world, about India and where I'm from, and the United States and the Middle East. But we don't hear about always the passion, the art, the animals, the life that, keeps us inspired and keeps the energy going. So in terms of resilience, it's really important, I think, to hear beyond just the sound bites that we get from the mainstream media. And that is changing, I think, as well. So I'm very optimistic. So from Amman, we're going to go back towards Southeast Asia, and we're going to go to Bangalore, if that's okay. So Ayush, it's great to have you here, and we'd love for you to introduce yourself and your story that you're comfortable to share with us. But thank you so much for being here for the Global Read.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the people around who's watching. I think before I start with my story, compassion is about doing something from your heart and not expecting something back. Because in this world now, it's all about if I scratch your back, you scratch mine. But doing something for someone without expecting anything back, that's what truly spreads happiness. And I think that's the spirit of this book, as well as all the stories in the book. So my story was, I was 11 when I wrote the story, and much younger when it happened in my life. I'd like to read an extract, if that's okay.
It's fantastic, and thank you for sharing it.
What a chaos. I couldn't believe that the serene beach of my dreams could be so crowded and noisy. Earlier that day, a large tidal wave had swept many tiny marine animals ashore. People were walking around and taking pictures instead of helping these poor animals. Feeling sorry for the creatures and angry at the crowd, I decided to help the animals myself. My parents headed for a walk as I started. I could see tiny but magnificent pink jellyfish withering on the sand. I started picking them up hand by hand and placing them back in the water. Some people stopped and yelled that my hand would itch later on, but I always replied, "It's okay." Soon I started helping other creatures, such as a baby turtle and even a crab. The crab's pincer cut my hand, but after freeing it from deep in the sand and putting it back in the water, I knew I couldn't be happier. So yeah, this story is about a vacation I went to Mauritius for, and what really strikes me even to this day is how I didn't have to think twice about helping the animals. It was almost a reflex action for me. And I'd like to thank the school I was at that time, Prakriya Green Wisdom School, for that. One of the things I'll take back from that school is a sentence I've been told over and over: we only have what we give. And I think it's really powerful. And once you really understand that, you truly have the spirit of compassion.
Thank you so much, Ayush, for sharing a story that was written, you said, when you were 11 years old. I mean, the creativity and the imagery that you were able to share at 11 years old. I'm not sure how many years on since it is now. So I'm not sure how old you are now, but I can only imagine that pen or that typewriter, I hope it's still typing and sharing this creativity, because there's power in that, and I'm sure other people can share that as well. Your story of the jellyfish reminds me of the story that I've heard so many times of the young person on the beach and the starfish, the little starfish that was washed up amongst millions of other starfish, and the older man, I could put myself in that category at this point. The older man walks up and says, "What are you doing, young child?" You know, and the child lifts up the starfish. It's like, you're not going to be able to help all of these starfish. Like, you're wasting your time. And the child says, well, tell that to this starfish, and puts the starfish back in the water. And there's something really powerful about the action within the title of this book, and your story about the action. And it's not only the actions, from what I'm hearing and getting a sense of what you're sharing here today, that are beneficial, but it's the other actions as well in your story of and not blaming or looking to be, make people feel guilty or bad, but the fact that so many are just taking pictures, and it's, there's so many other things we can do. I feel we need that action that you took, and that action that we can all take to challenge the narrative or the dominant discourse that we have, that the immediate reaction sometimes now is not to go forward with our heart and assist people who are struggling or suffering, but it's to capture it and share it maybe, and see what that gives to us, and what, how our profile might change in some beneficial way. But there's something very powerful in that 11-year-old story, and even younger than 11, I think you said. So thanks so much for sharing. And can I ask you, are you still writing? Are you still sharing these stories?
I try writing as often as I can, but more importantly, I'm practicing compassion as often as I can. And animal compassion is one of the places where I'm doing a lot of things in. But I think all the other types of compassion towards yourself, towards people around you, towards the environment, is really important. Yeah, and they all overlap.
Yeah, beautiful. And I agree with Puneet in the chat here as well. The lovely anecdote. There's so much lessons that we can take from each story to say, okay, what am I doing now? It doesn't matter from writing or speaking. Am I acting out of compassion? Am I practicing it for myself, for others, for the world around me? So in Irish, we'd say, Gurev Mila Maigut. So 1,000 thank yous for your presence and your braveness to share this story. Another story of compassion for nature and animals as well, which is lovely. Okay, so and I don't mean to be just flying through people, because I think we've a little bit of space and the ability to pause and for reflection through each one of these stories. And feel free in the chat as well if you want to add anything. Anjali, if you want to come in at any time as well, stop me talking, because I get excited with all these stories, but jump in, and to the rest of the team as well. If we have questions, if we want more clarification, if we'd like to bring more people in as well, we have space for that today. So from Bangalore, I'm not sure. Sorry, Anjali, please.
No, I just wanted to kind of add a note here, Sean, that when we received these stories, we had different ways that, we thought how to put it in a structure. All these acts, when they became stories, that what should be the structure of the book that makes it, very intuitive, makes it engaging. And finally, we decided that we will structure it as, compassion, starting from self, to friends, to family, to strangers, to animals, to nature, to Mother Earth. So So whosoever is listening to us and watching us, the book has been structured into 7 sections, and each section focuses on compassion of a certain type, and we put these stories into one of these sections. Yeah.
Beautiful. I think that really helps to compartmentalize for people to see they can park it here, but see what's happening in the different sections. And it reminds me, and I haven't got the physical copy, so we will get to this point. How do we get a physical copy of this book into our hands so our children and the people around us as well can also feel and connect with it? But it reminds me of a type of book that you can pick up and put down, but you can get the inspiration, and even on a different day with a different energy, read the same story and take something more from that story.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
for
absolutely, Sean. And we also have, put in certain reflection exercises after each story, which help the reader to kind of spend some time and reflect on what they read, and also practice it in different ways in their day-to-day life. Because at the end of the day, these stories are quotidian, very much relatable. It's not a fiction. It is very much what these stars have practiced. So the idea is that you feel that compassion is very much a part of your day-to-day life, and it can be practiced. Coming back to how the book can be bought, how is it available? In India, it's available both in paperback and Kindle formats. And rest of the world, it's Kindle, and US also, it's paperback. So you can go to Amazon.com and you can find both the versions. Unfortunately for rest of the world, and that's what Carol also, she hasn't had chance to grab the physical copy of the book. So that was one of the things, Sean, while you were asking, came to my mind, because that kind of remained a challenge for us to how to make sure that the paperback copy of the book is made available all across the globe. That still remains a challenge, but if you are in US, you can very well order it from Amazon. But the Kindle version, of course, you can download and read it.
Great, and maybe we can put a link in at some stage towards the end as well. But how we can,
yeah, Lynn has already done that. Yeah,
one step ahead, Lynn, all the time. So yes, it used to be a case of how can I get my hand on it, but with this book, I think it's much more a case of how do I get my hands, my ears, my eyes, but even more importantly, how do I connect my heart to receive the energy, but also resonate my story with the stories in the book as well. So, well, you say it's a challenge. You've had many challenges along the journey. I'm sure you're going to get there to realize and make it available for folks in all over the world, regardless of how they can get a chance to connect with the stories.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So in theory, if we look at the young people represented here today, we have Ananya, Ayush, Carol, and Anisha. If you were just to write it down, we'd say young people from Asia. And yet we know from the regions, or even the Middle East being a subcontinent to itself, you have South Asia, you've Jordan, we've got Bangalore, we have New Delhi, and now we're going to hear from Hyderabad. But just imagine walking from these places, from the Middle East all the way to New Delhi, to Bangalore, to Hyderabad. Imagine walking and the sense of diversity and difference and celebration. I think that's the line in the opening, in the front cover as well. It's a celebration of compassionate acts. If we have our heart and our eyes and our ears open, we're going to, a full believer, we're going to receive more compassion. We're going to give out more compassion than the opposite. And so it's great to be able to connect with Ananya now in Hyderabad. And I feel extremely privileged. We were talking just before we went live here. I feel extremely privileged as an individual who's actually been to all of the places represented here. So been to Jordan and Bangalore and New Delhi and Hyderabad in the last year only. But Ananya, can we come to you and can we give you a chance to introduce yourself and your story as told, a snippet of your story in this story of My Active Heart. Hello, and you're welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Ananya, a 12th grader, and I'm currently studying at Global Indian International School. So to set the background, I've had eczema for the longest time, like since I was a baby. But I don't think I really noticed how other people around me perceived this condition until I hit my teens. And that's when I really started to take notice, and little teen things like, what will my friends think? And will I still have friends? All of these started to worry me. And so that's what led to me performing this act of compassion. It's an act of self-compassion. So yeah. Should
Please,
I
please go ahead. Yeah, if you don't mind, take your time as well. And already the fact that you're sharing such a brave story, there's humility, there's courage, there's all of this in here, but for other people to get a chance to connect with that, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit more. Thank you.
Yeah. To set the context, this is like the first time I'd looked at myself in the mirror in a very long time, because I'd avoided the mirror because of how I assumed people perceived me. So I walked up to the mirror for the first time in ages and looked at myself without turning away. I kept my eyes locked right on with the girl on the opposite side. Look at me, I silently commanded. I lifted my hand in the air and waved at the girl in the mirror. She waved back right at me. I smiled. She smiled back too. Taking a deep breath, I told her how lovely she was. Then I turned around and walked away. I came back to the mirror every day and told her this every day. You are beautiful. Before long, I began feeling like my old self again, happy and grateful. And yet, something had changed. Something new, something I'd never realized before. I loved myself for who I was. I went up to the mirror that morning, and this time all I saw was a radiant, bright soul. I don't know how long I tried desperately to change myself. I don't know how many face packs I tried and how many creams I'd asked my parents to buy over the years. I don't know how long I'd focused on my rashes, giving them all the power they didn't deserve. I had forgotten about all the rest of me, my compassionate heart, insightful mind, lovely family, and everything I did indeed have.
Thank you. Gaurav Mila, my God, 1,000 thank yous for sharing your bravery, but the beauty that you see within yourself that's radiating right now. And I hope other people can feel and connect to this, Ananya. There's such a beautiful mix of the stories that we've just heard from. Self-compassion is a common thing. Compassion for nature, compassion for animals, and compassion for the wider world. But there's something really strong in seeing the beauty and beyond what the world sometimes tells us we look like, we feel like, we sound like, we act like. And as a father of two very young girls, I'd love for them to meet you, to connect with this story, this bravery, to say that whatever world you're living in, it's a very different world when I was 2 years old compared to my 2-year-old daughter today. But these stories need to be heard and felt, real, genuine stories. And my youngest daughter actually has eczema as well, or eczema. I'm not sure how it's pronounced in different parts of the world. But coming into a world where there's already people saying, you know what? You are beautiful. I am beautiful, despite any of the challenges and ailments that are going to be coming my direction. The resilience, the strength that we've heard from all of the young people in this, it's really inspiring. And I don't mean that in any flippant way. I really appreciate you sharing that story and giving other people the opportunity to say, do you know what? Whether you've looked in the mirror today or not, there's a beautiful person looking back at you. And when you see that beauty and the radiance coming back and the compassion, the self-compassion, it allows you to be more compassionate for other people as well. So really, Gaurav Mila, my good, we'd say, or muchísimo gracias here in Spain, and all the other ways you can say thank you very much in your cultures and languages to all of our young people. Thank you so much. And I'm not sure how you each got involved, but I'm just very happy you got involved. And I hope that it's been a spark for other things that are to come or have already come out of your engagement with this publication and the project, because it's not just a book. I believe there's a community that are connected as a result of this this book that Anjali and Deepika have been putting together. So Anjali, I'm going to ask you to come back in if you'd like, and particularly for all of the young people that have been on our panel, if there's anything that's resonating, that's coming out, that you're realizing that you'd like to share. I'll keep asking questions, of course I will, but If there's anything that, you think this is a moment that I'd also like to share this. We've got about 15 minutes left. This is a space for interaction as well. So it's questions all the different directions, but a chance also just to breathe, to pause, to settle, and to appreciate the fact that you've chosen to be here as well. We've asked you and you've chosen to be here, but how can we connect with people, continuing the theme of actions of the heart, from the heart to other people's hearts?
Yeah. So very well said, Sean, because beyond a book, this has become a community of people who feel for compassion and who've come forward and said that, yes, we are there to spread the cause. So we've got community which is nurturing up on various social media platforms. And while these stars are with us and many more would have joined or listened to this recording later, I would say that each of your story, my stars, has been really making a lot of impact when it is being read by other children. I can say that because when I go and read on your behalf, I see so many of them coming forward and saying that thank you, you gave a voice to our feelings. And 1 year back I was being bullied for how I look. I was being bullied for how I speak, and for various other reasons. But I got courage after listening to what Ananya has written, or what Ayush or Anisha, Carol, and all of the stars in the book have written. So you've given them courage to come and share their experiences. So hats off. Keep practicing compassion, and we would keep this going on in terms of one book and another book with all of your help.
Thank you. That's important as well. And that phrase, you've thanked others in this room, this virtual room, Anjali, for giving the voice and feelings, giving the voice to other people's feelings. I think there's really something strong in that we all have the ability, an innate ability. And I believe, like many people believe, compassion, empathy, kindness, these are innate social values that we have, but they're also practices. And so the more we do it, the more we refine it, but also the more we energize ourselves using the same skills. I think they're also skills that it can be an action, it can be a value, but it could be a skill. And certainly we've heard 4 stories. There's so much more in this book that beyond the topics and the themes that just resonate, of those voicing the feelings of so many of the young people, and not just young people, everybody, because
absolutely,
we can be in so many ways.
We've had sessions, Sean, where teachers and parents have also shared that especially, for example, whenever Ananya's story is read. So even when we received it, when Deepika and I read it for the first time, we had goosebumps, because we even now get insecure, or we think that how are we being perceived or judged by people, So these are such powerful tools to make us reflect and trigger such important conversations. One more thing I would like to share here, which often comes out from the children when we do reading, is that compassion is not weakness, it's courage, because all these stories are an act of courage. So that's another very important thing which comes out. So thank you for instilling courage in so many children who read your stories.
Yeah, I would love for someone to come and challenge, any of these stories and point out the weakness here. There's only strength that I'm seeing, and resilience and fortitude, but it can be done in a soft way. And that's, and when we talk about the light-hearted and the light, the brightness of the heart, and the opposite to being heavy-hearted, when we are connecting. And I can see, is it Ruchi has put in the chat here as well, may your tribe increase, may this tribe continue. The more people that are connecting, and this is ultimately what the Charter for Compassion has been founded upon as well, a large global community of people wanting to act from the heart, not as weakness, as strength, but also wanting to connect to others that are doing so, and coming up against it, because let's not be naive. There's so many challenges out there today, and they're growing. And we know that for young people facing all the other challenges. There's this term that keeps on being used. I hear it described, describing young people's reality today compared to even 10 or 15 or much longer ago. It's called VUCA, and it talks about volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Yes,
Yeah.
I would say that that is reality, but also yes to these strengths and these compassionate voices and hearts. And so I have one question, and it's to anybody and everybody, but particularly if any of the young people who share their stories feel they'd like to jump in. It's very clear for me, and for those listening and watching today, that you have influence, you have power, you have huge amount of contribution already within your local community, I've no doubt within your family and the wider community. But if you had much more power, if you were seen, and you are leaders, I feel that not in a pressure kind of way on your shoulders, but you are leaders because you chose to become here today and you chose to share your story. But if you had more of this power in a very public way, connecting to the theme of the action of the heart, what maybe one action, what one thing would you do to bring more compassion to the world around you? If you had one move, this can be a thing you can do. And often we learn also about compassion is we could maybe not do something. So what are the world leaders out there doing that they could stop doing to bring more compassion, more kindness, more empathy, and a world that we would like to see our future generations coming into? So almost like our future ancestors, if we're all future ancestors in this room, what thing can you do? And maybe what thing can you not do to bring more compassion? And we can have a space and little, if you want to think about that, if anybody has something on the top of their tongue or their heart or their head that they want to share, we are leaders, but what is it that we can leave here today saying this is something else we can do, and we can connect with those in other parts of the world? And if we want to put anything in the chat as well, feel free. I certainly want to give a little bit of time towards the end, and I see a hand going up straight away from Ayush. So please, Ayush, the floor is yours.
Okay, I think power, more than power, the influence is important. And with the influence, I'd like to sort of educate people on the importance of compassion. It's what brings a society together. And one of the things that I really emphasize on is forgiveness. Forgiveness is a type of compassion, and it's one of the toughest things to do, to forgive a person, because there's always this grudge you hold in your heart, and to get rid of that, it's not very easy. Forgiving someone for hurting you or for doing something that you didn't like is incredibly tough, but it's also a form of compassion in the sense you might understand where they're coming from, and as long as they understand that they shouldn't do it again, it's all for the greater good.
Thank you. Ayush, I think I could listen to all of you for at least another hour, and I think we'd benefit greatly from that as well. I'm going to get to Anisha now in 1 second, but just to let that settle in, forgiveness as a gift that you can give yourself. And you mentioned, not holding on to the grudge or the resentment, and imagining our life if we didn't have this affliction or this resentment towards us, what would we release in ourselves in this really tough act, as you say here, of forgiveness? It's hard, but the benefits can really outweigh the challenge involved in forgiveness. So what a beautiful way. And thank you for challenging me as well on power. It's influence you're talking about here, not power over, but maybe with and connection with as well. So thank you. Anisha, please, the floor is yours.
Right. So I agree with Ayush on the influence point, but I think the point that I'm going to share is something that we can do even without having, that huge liberty of, being able to influence others. So it's something that I've noticed, like at least in my school till grades 6th or till 7th, children don't really know what compassion is. They don't know the actual meaning of compassion, and thus they can't really exercise it that well. They don't know what their And then compassion, empathy, and sympathy. These are terms that get like interchanged, and I mean the meanings get confused. So I feel if like for the younger generation, especially like children who will grow up to be adults and who will actually have the power that we're talking about, I think they should know what these words mean, so that you can know they can exercise them well, and we can have more such acts of art.
I love it. Thank you so much, Anisha. What can we call it if it's not compassion? If compassion has a different resonance, and maybe connects to what we're talking about earlier on about people seeing compassion as a weakness rather than a strength. Are there any other things we can call this, what we're talking about here today?
I would say compassion, empathy sums it up very well, like looking at one situation from someone else's point of view and someone else's shoes, and trying to be there for everyone. Forgiveness, they're all, I would say, terms under compassion. And I think I forgot to mention in what I was saying earlier, compassion associated with weakness is also something that I've noticed that is done like quite frequently, and not courage. So that is another thing I think that we should do, especially in schools and for young grades.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm sure many others agree as well. So empathy, feeling with, and you said pity, maybe moving on from this word of pity and sympathy, but sorry, I think you said sympathy, but moving away from pity and sympathy into empathy, the connection with. Thank you so much. I'm going to have to leave a few minutes towards the end, so I'm going to hand it back very shortly to Felipe. But if there's any final words or final comments, apart from really just saying a heartfelt thank you for everybody who's contributed to this conversation, that I really feel it could go on a lot longer, and hopefully it can. Hopefully the community conversations can continue, that you can engage with the Charter for Compassion among many different ways you can do that. Connect to the, like Carol said, to the passion, find your passion, connect to other people's with that similar passion, but also the desire to make a difference and reduce the suffering in the world. So final comments, and then Felipe, please, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us some announcements that how people can engage and involve with the Charter for Compassion. Carol, sorry, Felipe, you just unmuted. Maybe Felipe, if you want to come in, and then we'll get to Carol as well, because I think it's important to spend these next couple of minutes,
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
How they can put the actions in process.
Yeah, no worries. So I am putting on the chat right now our website, charterforcompassion.org. We have a couple things that are coming up. So the course Cultivating Sacred Laughter to Awaken the Soul with Imam Jamal Rahman is starting on Tuesday, July 11th. And then we have community chats, which are opportunities that we have to do a Zoom meeting with geographic locations, people that have signed the charter, partner organizations or institutions or compassionate cities that are in those countries. And so on the 12th, we have a UK chat and New Zealand chat that will be July 13th for them, and then Canada chat on July 13th Pacific time as well. So there's a lot going on. You can always check our website again, charterforcompassion.org, and you can register for any other events that are coming up. Thank you so much, Shane and Anjali, for everything that you have shared, and obviously our special guest, Ananya, Nisha, and Ayush. Truly appreciate the young voices and example that they give us to all of us. And so I leave you to finish this session, and then I will take everything out.
Thank you, Felipe. You are a young man, of course, Felipe, so without sounding patronizing, as I say, we're all young at heart, but we're going to leave the final word to Carol, if you don't mind. A younger voice from going back to the Middle East. So Kifa Ginti, what do you have to leave us with, please, if you don't mind?
I just wanted to add that I think a very important point that was made here today is that compassion starts with the self, whether it's finding a passion to do good or looking in the mirror and just being in love with who you are and just accepting who you are. I think compassion should not be a synonym for weakness. It should be a synonym for strength and for doing good. And compassion shouldn't be connected with altruism, or it should just be something that's that should be done for everyone. It can be taught, it can be influenced. And I think it's very, very important for children today in this world to be in touch with who they are and in touch with the things around them that are happening, so that compassion can be exercised in every day.
Thank you again. Shukran Theatre. I think for me, I'm leaving with more hope, with more inspiration, and that's for somebody who wants to be able to make a difference, but also bearing in mind that this is the generation that, you know, we've a lot of things put on your shoulders, but with this connection, with the solidarity that I'm feeling and connecting with here, there's definitely a lot more hope, and we have to learn from multiple angles. It's not top down. I don't think that will work anymore. It has to be every angle that we can share our compassion with. But yeah, Gaurav, Mila, my God, thank you so much for everybody's involvement, whether that's in the chat, whether you're connecting in as family members or support members of the team here that have been present with us, and all the people in the background as well. So Lynn and Felipe and the rest of the Charter for Compassion team. Anjali and Deepika, thank you for meeting up at that conference and following a passion to try and make a difference and putting this beautiful publication together for us all to connect with. So
Thank
any
you,
last
thank
words,
you,
Anjali?
Sean. Thank you, Sean, Felipe, Lynn, and the entire Charter for Compassion family. I think this book, the flavor and its character is also because the whole Charter family has stood with both Deepika and me. Thank you so much, Marilyn. That it was because of Charter that we could go global. And we could make it, Sean, one of the other things which I really feel happy about, and I discussed with Deepika, is that how this book demonstrates that how children across the globe are tied with compassion. It's a thread which ties people across diversities, their, different religions, races, everything, languages. In fact, we received entries in so many languages. I mean, Indian languages, I must say here. So it's such a beautiful thing which is common to us. So let's just be perceptive about it and keep practicing it. Thank you, everybody.
Enjoy whatever amount of time you have left of your Saturday and weekend ahead, and hopefully we can stay connected. Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Wassalam.
Thank you, everybody. I
Thank
would
you so
request
much.
if everybody can switch on their cameras. I would like to just keep this as a memory. Anisha, yes, Ananya, Ayush, Carol, okay.
And we're not just taking a photograph like Ayush's story for the sake of it. This is real. This is real celebration.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sean, Philippe, and Lynn, for getting us all together. Thank you.